We're far from the shallow now.
Thank you for joining us for another movie lingo discussion. I'm Eddie Lingo, and finally, back on track trying to do these reviews for you guys. I apologize for the inconsistency, but life. That's really all I can say about that. Today we're going to be talking about A Star Is Born. I finally got to see this movie starring Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, and I thought that this movie, I had my expectations based on the previews itself, but this movie actually delivered more than I anticipated, which is a good thing. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, I ask you to please go watch the movie and come back and click on this review, because this will be a bit of a spoiler. Actually, very much so a spoiler. The only way I can really fully discuss my rating and why is because I'm gonna have to spoil some things. Anyway, so let's get right to it. A Star Is Born, again starring Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Bradley Cooper plays Jackson Maine, who is a belligerent drunk rock star that is, making his way through his final days or the end of his era in his music career, dealing with the slow loss of hearing, loneliness, and his fight with being an alcoholic. Yes, and then of course he comes across Lady Gaga's character, who plays Allie, who he instantly falls for, and then we watch this movie as Jackson Maine and Allie go on this adventure together to find music, love, and all of the things that Jackson Maine was fighting and dealing with come into the relationship as all of these new promising opportunities come into Allie's life, and then that gives you the movie. Now, as I said before, this movie, it gave me way more than I anticipated. When I first saw the trailer, I just assumed that Jackson Maine was going to be a dick, and he was gonna just constantly just be pushing Allie away, and we were just gonna watch this movie of how she slowly changes him, or how he has to change, better himself before he realizes he's gonna lose her forever. I mean, there are some elements in there, but that wasn't the core arc of the story, which I was very impressed with. I was very pleased, because when you see the trailer, you think you've seen the entire movie, which is why I didn't really rush out to see it. But I'm actually so glad that I really got to see it, because in this movie, his character, he actually, and a lot of people may disagree with me on this, but he loved her so much and so deeply from the start that I honestly feel like the movie, there's moments where they make you feel like he was jealous of her success, and that started affecting their relationship. But I honestly feel like it wasn't jealousy. It was the shift in her music, and the lack of having her constantly with him. And let me explain that. The shift in the music, when they met, she was writing songs from a certain place internally, and they were connecting with those songs, and they were having their time together on stage while bringing these songs to life. And then of course when she made it to the major record label, they had her singing pop songs that that didn't really, I'm not going to say that they weren't talent, their songs didn't have any skill or talent, but they basically just didn't have that core, or that message. He was always about, make sure you have something to say when you sing. And the music that she was, what she was turning into was basically a pop star, a Lady Gaga, and that's not who he fell in love with. And so I don't think it was jealousy at all. And also the removal of her in his life, I feel like the time that they spent on the stage, together, performing, it was how they fell in love. It was just, he just wanted to keep making music together and keep performing and doing that together. And then once she became a part of the business as well, and her success, she couldn't be on stage with him anymore. She couldn't go on tour with him anymore. Or the little shows that he was doing. It was always about, studio wants to record, and now this show and this and that. And he was losing the very thing that meant the most to him in the relationship. And I think that's what pushed him to drink, more than what he was already drinking already. When she met him, yeah, he was a drunk. But as she points out, when he was in rehab, the drinking got worse through the marriage, and I hate that the movie almost makes it seem like it was because he was jealous of her success. And I really don't think that's what it was. I really think it was a shift in the music. There was no message. She wasn't saying anything worth saying. She was singing about ass and jeans, and things of that nature. That it just wasn't the chemistry and the energy of the songs that she wrote when they were together. And then he was missing out on that quality time when they're on stage. So I really feel like that pushed him even deeper into his alcoholism, and that's what made it worse. But this really, really, if you think of it, the way I'm presenting it, a lot of people may disagree and they may say, no, it's still, he was selfish and that's messed up that he, wouldn't let her be. But it was just, that was something that he wanted. He loved her that much. Now, here's an interesting fact that I didn't know. This film is the fourth installment of a franchise. A Star is Born has actually had films as far back as 1937, again in 1954, and then in 1976 with Barbra Streisand. The plot is generally the same, each film having its differences as far as its execution and overall ending, but the overall idea and the plot is still the same, of a rock star dealing with alcoholism and comes across someone that's very talented and looking to make it, and they find love, and then there's those challenges along the way. I've never seen any of those films. I actually did not know about that until I started looking into this one, but I have to say, I can't compare to the old ones like I normally would. I would have normally, if I'd known ahead of time, watched and then been able to give you some comparisons. But honestly, with the history from what I'm seeing is how they've actually been flexible with that plot and storyline overall. I actually still am very happy with what I got. I don't need it to be true to the original. I never saw the original, so I have nothing to compare it to. So for those of you who are listening who may have different feelings about this story or my idea of what the story was trying to tell, because you've seen the original, then I apologize, but that's just my opinion, honestly. I really feel like I said before, that this was more about the things that he wanted from her and her music, and the things that he wanted as far as them two to be together on stage versus a jealousy thing. I know the original movie dealt with the character being jealous because her career overshadowed his, but I don't feel like that was exactly where they were going with this one, even though it's easy to go down that road. And this movie was really good and it had a really, really strong story. Now, in the beginning, the writing was a bit lazy, or maybe I should say the editing made it seem a little rushed. So I thought everything was a little too easy and too quick in the beginning. But after sitting through a movie that was almost 2.5 hours long, I get it. It was about pacing. They wanted to get to it, and then if they added all those little moments that would have really developed her hesitation and developed what pushed her to just go for it, it probably would have made it definitely a 2.5 or maybe more, 2.5 hour movie or maybe more. But all those little things was not enough to actually hurt my rating, though. It was bothering me in the beginning, but once we got into the meat and potatoes of the movie, I was all in. The only thing, however, that did affect my rating is the ending. And here's where we go with the biggest spoiler. The ending fell flat to me. After Jackson Maine made that decision to kill himself, which was a big part of the movie, and I felt that emotionally. I was into that, and I felt like, even though a lot of people feel like suicide was a selfish act, I felt like that was, again, him not really knowing how effective it would have been, but thinking that was an act of love. He wanted to get out of her way. He wanted to get out of her way because of what the executive producer had said to him. So I feel like that was an act of love too, even though it was not the right way to go about it. But I feel like in his mind, that's what he was doing. So I wouldn't say it was fully selfish. Definitely misguided, but I wouldn't say it was fully selfish. But my biggest issue is at the end. Throughout this movie and the trailer, I was more moved with the Shallow song that they sang together. you know. And I get why they chose the song that they used at the end, because he wrote that for her and he sang it to her right out of rehab, and it had a special place in her heart because he wrote that specifically for her. Because I don't think they actually showed him write anything for her throughout this entire movie, so I understand the significance. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have had that scene of her singing to the orchestra and that in dedication to him. I'm saying that after that, what I would have rather seen is her and that orchestra do a different rendition of the Shallow song and show edits in and out of them, you know, of her singing it versus the first time they sang it together, because that song moved me more than any other song in the movie. That song actually is what made me want to go watch the movie, you know. And so I just felt there was a lot more passion in it, and, you know, and everything. The other song was beautiful, but the passion and the heartstrings, you know, I'm really more attached to the Shallow song, and I really wish they would have done it that way. However, still a great movie. I'm gonna go ahead and give you my rating, and I know I'm probably gonna catch some flack from this, because it may either, for some of you it's gonna be too low, and for some of you it's not gonna be high enough, because I've seen the difference in reviews. You either really love this movie or you don't. But for me, based on the way the movie made me feel, based on my understanding as far as the writing with the character, and Lady Gaga actually being the main character, that's why it's called A Star Is Born, and Bradley Cooper being a very strong supporting role that just loved her deeply. I really love that, because I wasn't expecting that when I watched the trailer. I'm going to give this 8 out of 10. So, Movie Lingo rating is officially 8 out of 10, because I am by myself. I'm not with anybody today, and it's going to be like this for a while, and I hope you guys continue to listen and share and enjoy it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Strong story. You know, for pacing reasons, I understand why it was kind of weak writing or weak editing in the beginning. But still very, very attached to this movie. I thought it was a good movie. I think it's worth watching more than once, and I think you should tell a friend to go see this movie. So official Movie Lingo rating is 8 out of 10. I want to thank you for joining me for another Movie Lingo discussion. Again, I'm Eddie Lingo, and we'll see you on the next one.